you've ever been curious about the Lyft rental program or any of these rideshare rental programs, I'm going to give you the pros and cons after 8 weeks. I've had this e-vehicle for a little over 8 weeks, and I'm going to give you some things to look out for that you should know before you go do the rental thing. The first thing I got to say, it is expensive, but not in the way that you think, because yes, the payments are, my thing is all so yes, the payments are a little up there, especially if you get an e-vehicle. They do have a bunch of different levels. So let me just start with that. So what I got was the e-vehicle because I have a hybrid, but it's not a plug-in electric vehicle, and I wanted that. So I got that, but the payments are $354 a week. That's a lot. But because you're using it for Lyft, the money that you get from Lyft just goes directly to that. So right, I start off the week and I have a note of $354. As I do rides, that number starts to go down because all the payments that you earn from your Lyft rides, they go towards that, right? So it essentially turns out to be a free vehicle if you accumulate the right amount of rides. Now, the purpose of getting the vehicle is to do Lyft rides, right? So if you're working the full week, specifically if you live in Mass, you have an advantage in Massachusetts. Other states, I'm not sure what the laws are, but in Massachusetts, you have an hourly guarantee, like literally locks you in for 33 and change an hour. So what they're saying is that you're gonna make at least 33 an hour, and that's including bonuses. I didn't think it was including bonuses, but it's including bonuses. Now, there's a pro and con when it comes to that, and I'll get to that in a second. But the 33 an hour just ensures that as long as I'm giving rides, actively giving rides, so either on my way to a passenger or when the passenger's already in the car, and also if they have stops and stuff, all that time that they're in the vehicle, I'm getting paid for that. So that gives me a little bit more comfort, me personally, because I know my time's not being wasted, right? But because I rented an e-vehicle, I also qualify for the e-vehicle bonus. And I will say the ride limit is a little higher. It's essentially 110 rides most of the weeks. If you do 110 rides in a week, you get $175 extra. And then random weeks, you'll get promos. So every Sunday, I noticed they come out. And I did Lyft last year, and this is what I noticed from last year to this year. I feel like the rides pay a little bit less, even in Mass. So if you guys see my other videos, you guys have seen that I tested out New Hampshire and Massachusetts, and New Hampshire rides for the same amount of distance actually pays a little bit less than how Mass does it. For example, if it's like a $10 ride in Mass for, let's say, 5 miles, right? That ride would be $10, maybe $12. But if I do that same ride in New Hampshire, it'll be like $6, $7. So that's just like a little thing to know if you're in this area. And it could be that way in other states across the country as well, but I don't know personally. If you guys do know that, just comment below what part that you might be in. And so another thing, so with that e-vehicle bonus, then the random bonuses, and then they have also a weekend bonus. So if you strictly want to just drive on the weekends and do Lyft, you can do that as well. And any Uber people that are in here watching this video, you guys also have a program. I don't know anything about it though. I do know you can rent a Tesla after like 100 rides that you're on the platform for, so that's a plus. Lyft doesn't offer the Tesla rentals, so I got used to this. I'm driving a Kia Niro, and it's okay. I'm just used to the Tesla. After a week or two driving the Tesla, I'm just used to the Tesla supercharger. They're a lot faster. The fastest that I can charge, or the Kia Niro, the fastest that I can charge is like 30 minutes. So I just got to make sure I'm doing something. But with a Tesla, if I wanted to use a supercharger, I won't spend more than 5-10 minutes at a supercharger. So there's a little bit of difference there. But for the most part, it's a W. Like, I'm not putting miles on my own personal car. I'm getting to rent a car in exchange for that big hefty like it can be worth it if you make it worth it. You do have to kind of plan out your rides. Make sure like at least like $8 to $10 minimum per ride, right? There's a lot of $4 or $5 rides. Like I noticed this year it hasn't been that great for Lyft, but you can make decent money on a good day if you are focused and like try to be disciplined and not settle for the other ones. But the way the structure is, they make you almost settle for those little ones, because if you're trying to accumulate 110 rides in a week to qualify for those bonuses, you kind of want to take those $4 rides, so they kind of incentivize you. And again, if you're in Massachusetts, you get that hourly guarantee, so it doesn't even matter what rides you do, you're gonna get that hourly guarantee. Now, there was a couple weeks here and there where I noticed I'd be online for 40 hours and then only be active for like maybe 22, right? So that's just me not being in the right area where it's as busy. And then the difference between online and active is when you're actively giving a ride, you have a customer or you're on the way to the passenger, customer, whatever. And then the time that you're online is just how long you have the app online for. So it might not mean, or it doesn't mean that you're like doing a ride. It's just all the time that you have the ride on online mode. So they count all that. But what you get paid for here in Mass is the active hours. So usually it's like 20. I've gotten as high as like 30, but it's very hard to accumulate those hours if you don't live in a busy area or if you're not busy enough. Let's see. Another thing is too, I am saving a lot when it comes to gas. Gas has been going up recently. We're in May 31st right now. And the cheapest I've seen the gas is like $2.70, $2.80. And then a lot of parts are like $3.10. That's the average. But there are those little, the unicorn gas stations that they're actually a good price. But I'm kind of glad that I'm not getting gas, because it is at a higher price. Like when I charge, I usually try to charge overnight, so I don't have to worry about it. Most of the time when I'm doing rides, I don't ever have to stop at a charging station. That was one thing that worried me. I'm like, damn, I'm gonna have to find a spot where I can chill 30-40 minutes to, you know, reach another full level charge. But you kind of get into a rhythm of things, and like for me personally, I just charge every night, right? There's been days where I've made it back with like 80 miles, other days I've made it back with like 20 miles in range left. But it doesn't matter, because the next day I'll just have a full charge, because I luckily I live right next to a parking garage, so I have a charger at home essentially, and I could just plug in there, and it doesn't cost. The highest I've paid was $16 for a full tank technically. The only downside about the e-vehicles that I noticed is the highest range that it goes is 287 I've seen. So 287 miles, and that only cost me 15 to 16 to reach that level. So essentially it's a lot cheaper than a gas vehicle, because my hybrid, if I try to get to like 400 or 500 miles in range, it costs me $30-40. So the gas vehicles do have a longer range, but then again, I'm not driving from here to Texas, you know what I mean? Like, I'm staying local in the area, not going any further than an hour and a half. So you know, you don't really need those 300, 400, 500 miles. But that's the only downside about the e-vehicles, that like mine personally doesn't go further than 280 miles. There are days where I drive a lot, so I do have to stop somewhere, and I have to like kind of make errands, so that when I'm charging, I'm not just sitting in the car and I'm actually doing something productive. So I'll usually stop at a Walmart or a Market Basket, any supermarket, whatever, and just get my dinner for the night, and do it that way. But for the most part, it is like, is it worth it? I would say it is worth it, because you do have unlimited miles. So if you want to do as many Lyft rides as possible, so you don't end up owing at the end of the week. But the thing is, like, they're very flexible. They do want you also to bring it to service when it needs service. That's another thing. I missed the service. I didn't even see it. So when I went to to restart the 8 weeks that I'm renting. Kind of got yelled at a little bit, but it's all good. You know, they want you to maintain. It's an e-vehicle, so I figured it wasn't like that crazy big of a deal. But there are a couple things that need to be taken care of. There's a headlight out. There's the cabin air filters need to be checked, which is like stuff that I can do, but you know, I'm not getting paid for it, so they do it for free anyways. I just have to kind of give my time and find a time that works for them to look at it. But if you're looking to get into that program, definitely go into your Lyft or Uber app and see what they have available in your area. For me, I kind of have to go out of the way, even though I have like Enterprise and what's the other place? Any other rental places. They can be local to you, but you most likely have to go to a major city to even qualify for any of these. I had to go to Boston, which is like 45 minutes from me, so I just took the commuter rail and just got it that way. It was just easier that way. That way you don't have to ask for favors, whatever. So if you live near a major city, that's another thing, because most of these rentals operate out of those major cities. But anyways, hopefully that helps anybody that's in the process of looking for a rental. If you don't have a vehicle, this is a great option for you. But yeah, I'm gonna end the video there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.